Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in to Movie Pop. I'm DJ Washington. Today I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Lawrence Amber,
Hey guys, how you doing?
and we're talking about Netflix first science fiction film that is actually really good. It's called I Am Mother. It's directed by Grant Spator, who is shockingly a first-time film director. And this is kind of shocking because in our last review for Dark Phoenix, we were talking about the director for that film being a first-time film director and not really living up to par. So it's very pleasing to say that I think this is a fantastic first entry into the sci-fi genre for Netflix, and just a really well done film. What did you think about it, Lawrence?
It's really refreshing to see a film that I actually enjoyed. Um, a grand majority of. I was expecting, like, usually the Netflix movies within the first like 5-10 minutes you're totally over it, but I was actually engaged. I was into the movie. I wanted to know what
Right.
happened. So yeah, it was really refreshing. I wasn't expecting that at all, especially from Netflix films.
Right.
Me and you, I'm sure, have both seen our fair share of movies that were really bad. I've seen some pretty bad ones on Netflix.
Yeah, we're looking
So
at
it was nice.
you, the Cloverfield paradox.
Oh dear. Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
One of many, yeah.
okay, so we both love this film. We thought it was great. We're really excited
I
that.
have I have to say the ending I wasn't a huge fan
Okay.
of. I thought it could have been better, but it wasn't like it didn't like botch the movie by any
Interesting.
means.
Okay, we'll come back around to that. I'm curious to
Yeah.
hear why you think that. But for
Okay.
those of you who don't know, let me just first off say I had no idea what this film was about before watching it. So I would totally suggest anybody who's curious about this film to go into it blind, like I did, because it did make narrative sense. It did have a sense of narrative cohesion.
Hmm.
But for the sake of this review, let's just say this film is a sci-fi thriller of sorts, and
Yeah.
it entails some post-apocalyptic future where humanity has been extinct, and we're looking at a girl who is being raised by a robot to repopulate the Earth, and then bad things entail and ensue, and there's a mystery to follow, and it's all very suspenseful.
There's a lot of good mystery, I feel.
Yeah,
There's a lot of unanswered questions that they kind of lead you to in the movie, and they eventually find out
yeah,
like the truth and stuff. That's I thought that was really good. I liked that a lot.
yeah.
That really got me engaged.
Cool, cool. So let's kind of go over the pros then. Do you have any pros you want to start off with, or?
Yeah, like kind of what I just said. I feel like the movie's really good. Has really good. Although I feel like some parts are a little long, I feel like the pacing, if
Yeah.
it had been made a little bit tighter, it would have. The pacing was pretty good. I feel like it goes because it starts off kind of slow, but not in like a boring slow way. I feel like the pacing all throughout is it's just right. Like they have everything where it needs to be.
Yeah.
Um, I also feel that like just like the way the story is told is really good. The way you're given like just the points in the story, like the main points, like where, when, and where she discovers like all this stuff is. I don't really know what I'm trying to say, but like
No, yeah.
the parts, yeah. Do you get what I'm saying? Like the parts of the story when when they show up, it's like really well timed.
Right. Yeah.
You know, if you watch the trailer and you see that she meets like the other person, like that's like all perfectly timed. You know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm right there with you. Off the bat, I've got some pros to talk about this film. Really huge pros, because I think this film holds its own, not only as a Netflix film, but if this came out in theaters, I would be equally as engaged with the end result. The concept for this film, I think, is more or less unique, well executed. It definitely displays a sense of authenticity. Like, when I'm watching this film, do I believe the concept? Do I believe the actions of the characters, the motivations of the characters? All those things totally had me engulfed in a sense of authenticity about this world that we're being presented with on screen. And then lastly were the practical effects. I was reading in an interview, actually, that a lot of this film was actually shot with practical effects, and there are certain sequences throughout this film where I'm looking at this robot and I'm wondering, is this a practical effect or is this CGI? And of course, there were some times where it was very clearly CGI, but for the majority of the film, I couldn't tell whether or not it was practical or CGI, which is a testament to the filmmakers.
Yeah, if it was all practical effects, I'd say that's really good.
Yeah, it
The
was. It
robots kind of
was.
reminded me of like a futuristic iPhone, like a futuristic
Yeah.
iPhone
No, and you
robot.
know what's funny is I'm
No, they're really well done. Is
yeah.
my point. Like they
I
look
think
great.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm looking at this robot and actually I have to look at it again, but initially I'm looking at the robot and it really is reminiscent of some of the robots that Boston Dynamics are creating, specifically the head design.
Yeah.
So it's very much
Definitely.
grounded in reality and I really appreciated that.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, pros of this film presents the concept of global stakes, big ideas, but is set on a very small set. You know, it's just taking place in one area for the most part.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
there was one more thing that I thought was really, really good, and a lot of science fiction films don't do. You have these really big philosophical ideas in really good science fiction movies, and a lot of the time, it's kind of like how when you're watching a movie, right? And inside the movie, somebody tells a joke, and then everyone's like laughing so hard at it, right? But then as an audience member, you're looking at it and you're like, I'm not laughing, so is this really funny? Like, obviously the answer is no because you're not laughing. So a lot of these philosophical ideas presented in science fiction films, I feel like are very superficial and very surface level. And within the first 10 minutes of this film, we're presented with a ethical thought experiment that really had me thinking and really challenged me. And it was the one about the doctor who is trying to save 5 patients at the expense of one person's
Oh yeah.
life. And it gets into
Yeah.
more detail and it gets more in depth into it, but it really did challenge me as a viewer. Like, damn, like what would I do in this situation? And I thought that was really clever. That
The dialogue is
right,
really good there too, because she brings up like good points as
yeah,
well, and yeah. So I
yeah,
think
and it
it's a
really
good scene. Yeah,
foreshadowed
for
like
sure.
what the eventuality of this movie is going to be too, with some of the themes behind why this question is even being
Mm-hmm.
asked in the first place to the main character,
Right.
the girl daughter. So let's move into the cons. We only have a couple minutes left here. Cons.
Yeah.
You touched on this earlier. I felt like it was overlong. I think the pacing of this film was fine, but regardless of that
Yeah.
fact, because of the length of the film,
It felt really
because of the
long.
length,
It's a
I found
2-hour
myself
film.
throughout the second act, like kind of like, let's get it moving along here. How about you for cons?
Yeah, for sure. No, I like yeah, some scenes like no, I don't think the scenes in particular were long, but like I feel like sometimes there's just parts that it doesn't drag so much because the movie is enjoyable to watch, but you're like looking like eventually you're just like, man, this is really long. Like, and I feel like we're nowhere near the
Right.
resolution, and I feel like they could have maybe tightened up some parts or cut some scenes because some of them I find are not so they don't have like there's not much meaning in them. Like I'd say like the middle portion of the film is really long. The beginning is good and the end is good. They're both like the right length, but the middle portion of the film is like 80% of the film is
Yeah,
oh
and that would
shit.
have been
I feel like they could
that
have
would have
tightened
been
that up
really
a bit.
helped by either a more compelling, what's not soundtrack, but more compelling. What's the word? For lack of a better word, a more compelling soundtrack would have helped those kind of atmospherics during the second act of the film, where things kind of were a bit more slow. I think that would have helped. But yeah, that's where I'm at. So for me, I'm going to give this film a 3.5.
Oh, I had
Well,
more cons.
we're short for
I was
time
gonna say
here.
I wasn't a huge.
So
Okay. No, I was just gonna say one more thing. I didn't. I thought the ending was okay, but I wasn't a huge. I feel like some of the points of the ending might come off as a little bit confusing, but that's kind of something that we can't talk about too much. We don't want to spoil too much. So if you watch it, you'll know what I mean. Just
okay.
get to the end, and then yeah, go ahead.
yeah,
Give your score.
so I'm gonna give 3.5
Sorry.
bags of popcorn on this.
Yeah. Okay. That feels pretty fair. I would
Yeah.
give it about the same, 3.5. Which is pretty good I think for a Netflix film because everything else is like a 1.
Right. Yeah.
So very good. I hope to see other
Yeah, yeah.
movies like this.
Likewise.
on
Hope to
Netflix.
see more movies like this, and this definitely has replay value, I think, as well.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like it's one of those movies where you'll get more
Yeah.
every time you watch it.
For sure.
Which is great.
All right, guys. Well, that's our review for Netflix science fiction film I Am Mother. Definitely go give it a watch. And definitely after this, make sure to follow us on Instagram at MoviePopOfficial, at Facebook at MoviePopOfficial, Twitter at RealMoviePop.
You guys know the drill. Give us your love, give us your support. Helps us a lot. anything, any support you give us, comments, let us know what's going on. We want to hear, did you like the movie? Did you not like the movie? Do you like our channel? What you want us to do? All that stuff helps us so much. Thank you guys as
Thank
always
you
for
guys.
watching.